Brought to you by Penguin.
The Cancelling of the American Mind by Greg Lukianoff and Rikki Schlott. Read by Rikki Schlott.
A PDF of additional material accompanies this program.
To those who have been canceled.
Foreword by Jonathan Haidt. Sometime around 2014, something big changed in American society. It was as if a flock of demons was unleashed upon the world, and the first place they flocked to was American college campuses. Whatever they were, one of the first people to spot them was Greg Lukianoff, who recognized their central power. They make people engage in exactly the same cognitive distortions that Greg had learned how to correct in himself when he was trained in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for depression. Because he was so familiar with these distortions and their damaging effects, Greg was able to see that universities or society or the internet or somebody was training some young people to think in counterproductive and inaccurate ways. Greg knew that this would be harmful to their mental health, and he realized all the way back in 2014 that if these distortions became common on college campuses, it would be a disaster for the open, questioning culture of free speech that is essential for universities to do their work. My own reaction when Greg shared his analysis with me in May 2014, this is brilliant. This is right. This explains what I am seeing as a professor at New York University. I suggested to Greg that he write up his idea for publication, and I humbly offered my services as a co-author with a degree in psychology. We wrote an essay for The Atlantic titled The Coddling of the American Mind, which was published in August 2015. The disease continued to mutate and spread, so we dove much deeper into its origins and effects in our 2018 book with the same title. Again, you'll read about that in this book, but let me just say this in the foreword. Greg is the sort of principled and empathetic person who can write about politically controversial social trends such as cancel culture in a trustworthy way. He writes from a place of love for liberal democracy and liberal societies, which require strong protections for speech. And he writes with a big heart that feels the pain of those who suffer, whether from mental illness, exclusion, or unjust social punishment. Since writing Coddling together, Greg and I have each taken a piece of the puzzle to explore in a subsequent book. I'm writing a book that takes off from Chapter 7 of Coddling on the mental health crisis that began for Gen Z, those born in and after 1996, at the very moment that the virus was released in the early 2010s. I argue that when teens traded in their flip phones, which were not harmful, for smartphones loaded with social media apps, they rewired childhood, consciousness, activism, politics, and mental health, almost always in ways that were bad for adolescents and bad for liberal democracy. Social media will play a big role in the canceling of the American mind, too. Greg is building on his leadership of America's preeminent free speech group, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, to explore the dynamics and destructive effects of cancel culture on individuals, institutions, and nations. Greg has done more than just about anyone else to defend and promote free speech and the virtues, such as intellectual humility and the principle of charity, that make free speech a boon to tolerant and dynamic societies. In writing this book, Greg has made a smart move in trading me in for Rikki Schlott. I've known Rikki since she wrote to me in August 2021 as a junior at New York University. She had just published a marvelous essay in a major newspaper on the suppression of viewpoint diversity on campus.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?